Hey loves, your girl Carrie here, coming at you today talking about narcissistic personality disorder. And for those that don't know, I am a certified specialist in narcissism, PTSD, and trauma. I really want to talk about this because I feel it's so crucial to really put out there what defines a narcissist because so many individuals have narcissistic traits, but that doesn't mean that they're a narcissist. And the problem is when someone does someone wrong, like if they're in a toxic relationship or a toxic marriage or things don't end up going the way that someone expected, they automatically want to call someone a narcissist. And the sad thing about this is when you normalize something, you desensitize it. So, those who are truly in narcissistic relationships or marriages, they almost have a lack of empathy for them when truthfully, narcissism is a form of abuse, and abuse is and should be taken very seriously. Now, first, I'm going to read the physical definition of what narcissistic personality disorder is. And you may hear me say NPD just to abbreviate it because it's a longer word. So, what is NPD? It's a mental health condition, keyword mental health. So, they have to be diagnosed in order to be called this specific word. It is an inflated sense of self importance, a deep need for excessive admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. This rigid, ongoing pattern, keyword pattern, of behavior causes major problems in relationships, work, and daily life. I really want to emphasize some of these words in this definition because number one, narcissistic personality disorder, as I stated, is abuse. There is abuse in every single narcissistic personality disorder that there is out there, and there are 11 different types. It doesn't necessarily mean that every single field of abuse from, emotional, mental, physical, like it doesn't mean that all of them have to be performed in order to be a narcissist. Like you can be with a narcissist and they may never reach physical abuse to you, but they are mentally abusing you and so forth. Another thing I want to emphasize is that it's a pattern and abuse is a pattern. Just because you're in one toxic relationship in your whole entire life or one toxic marriage and every other person in this whole entire world and even in your work life and so forth, you get along with and have zero problems with them, chances are that means you're not a narcissist because you get along with every single person. And if this was the one toxic relationship or marriage that you had, then clearly we see who the core issue is in the common denominator, right? So, also, as it's stated on the bottom part of the definition, it said that it's an ongoing pattern of behavior in relationships, work, and daily life. That's a key. This person doesn't just have a problem with you, with you being their spouse or their, lover or whatever. This individual has issues all across the board. Their work life is always crazy. They always have some sort of complaint in their work life. Their personal life is crazy. There's always some sort of friend that hates them or is a horrible person and so forth. There's always just some sort of toxicity in their everyday and every interaction life that they have, including you. So if this person is just abusive and has issues with just you, but yet every single person they get along with and have zero issues with anyone, and I'm not talking like a little pity thing like, oh, you didn't come to my birthday party, I'm upset with you. I'm talking like ongoing issues with someone all the time. They always have to have some sort of drama or chaos or problems in their life. That is more of a chance of someone being narcissistic, not someone being in a marriage and just having issues with them, because that just means it's a toxic marriage. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be that way with everyone. Now let's read the definition of abuse. Abuse is physical, sexual, emotional, economical, or psychological actions or threats of actions that influence another person. Does that not describe a narcissist pretty much to the T? That is very imperative to know because, again, the key word in the definition of abuse is pattern, and the key word in NPD is pattern. This is not someone that just was pushed over the edge. You had an altercation or incident with this person one time. This is a continuous thing that is someone's personality. That's the whole point of the word, narcissistic personality disorder. So it's part of who they are. And that brings me to a question that I get asked so many times is, how can they change? Will therapy change them? And to put it point blank, no. This is part of their personality. So asking me or asking just anyone, could therapy change their disorder, or could, eventually they grow out of it, or whatever words you want to say? That's like asking if, can I change that my hair color is brown? Sure, I can dye it. I can do different things to it. But when it grows out, and at the end of the day, I will always be a brunette. That was what I was born with. Same with if you're Spanish or, Polish or whatever, that is who you are. You can't change that. It's part of you. Now, yes, they can go to therapy and they can get help, but they will not change. What you're doing is basically giving exercises and techniques for them to help the situation. It doesn't change the situation. So that's the key. I always give this type of analogy. So we have narcissistic personality disorder. When someone is born with Down syndrome, that is a chromosome disorder. So you would never look at someone that has Down syndrome and ask them to change their facial features or ask them to not act like they have Down syndrome. But you can send someone with Down syndrome to therapy and to different classes and so forth to help them with, say, their anger issues. A lot of people that have Down syndrome, they get angry if they can't express things in certain ways, especially if they're nonverbal and so forth. So you can put them in therapy to help with those situations, but that doesn't change that they will ever become without Down syndrome and have, a different, the extra chromosome will just go away. It's the same principle with NPD. You could send them somewhere for their anger issues. You could give them medication that helps maybe, simmer down their antics, is what I say. But they will always have narcissistic personality disorder. So to stay with them and to be with them, you have to basically accept that abuse as part of who they are. Now, one comment I get all the time is they say, so many people say that, if someone cheats, they're not narcissistic. If someone steals, they're not narcissistic. If they lie, they're not narcissistic. But everybody calls everyone a narcissist because God forbid someone lies one time or someone cheats or something. And I understand that frustration, but then they'll also say, and only 1% of the world is diagnosed with NPD. And that's true, but it's not that way because the statistics or the odds are very slim that someone is narcissistic. It's because a narcissist has a grandiose ego that they need to maintain. So if they go and see a specialist that specializes in mental health to diagnose them, they cannot gaslight that doctor. They cannot gaslight that diagnosis. And now it's on paper. Something else about narcissism is I always say they're like chameleons. So they will fake an entire personality to get the supply that they need. As I read to you in the definition, they lack empathy, and love is a form of empathy. So they do not have the ability to physically love someone like you or I, or someone that is not narcissistic, that has emotions and empathy attached to them. They love based on the supply that you provide. So if you have one entity here and one entity here, one person here, one person here, they look at you as an entity. So picture yourself as like two vaults. If this vault has $500 and this has 1,000, they want this one. So that's how they form themselves to love. So if they go and get diagnosed, they can't really chameleon themselves to be this normal father figure that, the persona they want to give to this supply to reel them in, or they can't pretend that they're this big baseball player to this entity that, maybe they love baseball or something. Like they have to form and they have to be a chameleon in the environments that they are looking at as prey. So therefore, they will never step in to a therapist to get diagnosed, because that proves that there's a mental health issue that they have. And so, they don't want that documentation to go against their ego and who they are. Now, some people may say, oh, no, mine went to therapy. I will tell you right now, the chances of them going through therapy and physically going through the whole entire, process to be diagnosed, somewhere in there they'll fall short. Somewhere in there they'll make up an excuse that they don't want to go, or somewhere in there they'll stop going and so forth, because once it starts to form who they are and they're about to get to that diagnosis, like, they won't continue. They're only going to therapy to try and keep you around, to basically make you happy, and there's always some sort of manipulation or reason that they're going to therapy. It's not because they have empathy and want to change themselves. It's because they're doing it so they don't lose the supply that wants them to go to therapy. A true narcissist doesn't walk into a therapist and say, hey, I think I'm narcissistic and I need help. And to actually get help to go through the process of, the whole narcissistic process, it is a consistent and a very intense, process. So, I mean, the patients, even on a narcissist, aren't there even to complete the physical process to go through becoming a different person and a better them, to realize the lack of empathy and so forth. Another thing is narcissistic individuals, they don't know how to look inward. So people that have empathy and are empathetic, they put themselves in scenarios and perspectives and situations of another when they're having empathy. So, for instance, if someone's mother passed away, when you give empathy, you think of it as your mother and you're like, well, I'm so sorry. Like, you just think in your head, like, man, where would I be if my mom passed away? So, narcissistic individuals, they don't have the ability to do that. They seek outward. That's why everything is your fault. That's why they project everything, because how they act is a reaction of how their outside world is going. So if they feel threatened by something that someone's doing, or there's an altercation, they base their reactions and their responses off of losing the entity, losing the supply, and how you react, or how they think that you will react, or how you will reply, and how they need to act in order to get what they want. So there's always like a twist of manipulation. It's very, very, very psychological type abuse that they do to their prey, to their victims. If you know someone that is narcissistic, or you believe that you are in this type of marriage or relationship or union, whatever you want to call it, with this individual, I want you to know that staying with them, they do not change. There is no form of them to change. So if you are around wanting it to get back to that beginning, that is all part of the abuse. The beginning was just a facade. It wasn't real. So you fell in love with the very first person that they showed you who they were, and they did that to reel you in. That's not who they are. The true mask falls off, and the person that they are today, that is truly who they are. So you become addicted. That's what the trauma bond is. It is a pure addiction, because you are wanting to get back to that square one, to that beginning stage. And it's a lost hope. Once the narcissist knows that the mask has fallen off and you have seen the true person they are, they don't go backwards. It just gets worse and worse, because what they do is, takers don't have any limits. So they will keep pushing to keep taking, to see how much they can get away with, to see how much they can take from you. And unfortunately, givers don't have limits either. They want to give because that's who they are. They're empathetic, and they give until, again, there's nothing left. But the thing is when the giver runs out of the supply, the narcissist runs out too, because there's no more supply for them to have. So they are on to the next person. And if you are someone that is going to fight to keep them around and think that if you just keep giving and giving and giving, they will then do a smear campaign, and they will then ignite the abuse to push you away, to discard you, so that they can move on and can go forward with the new supply that is providing them a new entity. And now I just took my robe off because as I explained to individuals that I help in this, I am a survivor of narcissistic personality disorder. And when I talk to individuals, I wear many different hats. So right now, I'm putting on my survivor hat and I'm putting on my personal talking to you on a one to one, friend to friend level. This is not on a professional level. This is not on a educational, medical, anything like that level. This is on a one to one informational survivor level. And what I want to tell you right now is that I truly believe in my heart and soul that these individuals are a demonic sort of entity, an evil entity, because someone of God is someone of love. God is love. And many people, I've seen it myself, survivors have said that they see the black eyes when they do their, again, as I call antics. And I've seen those black eyes, and any normal person doesn't have black eyes. I lost my aunt to a malignant narcissist, and I lost my high school friend to a malignant narcissist. Both of these individuals went to bed and built lives with these malignant narcissists and made them their husbands. And my uncle went into the home that he was restrained from, and my friend's husband went into her work that he was not to be going into, took both of their lives, and then took their own. My aunt passed away at the beginning of my narcissist, and my friend passed away at the end of my narcissist. I had my trial date with my narcissist in December, and I lost my friend in February, and I lost my aunt in February years prior. And so both of them I lost in the month of love, which I feel is just so ironic. But why I'm sharing all of this with you on a emotional, personal, and again, as I said, survival way is because I want you to know right now, if you are in a narcissistic relationship, marriage, whatever, union, whatever you want to call it, please, for the love of God, get away. And you have to do so when you're safe. You can't, if you go to a domestic violence shelter, they will tell you, do not leave your abuser until you feel that it is safe to do so, because you know your abuser best. And when my aunt went to get away and my high school friend went to get away, that is when their lives were taken. So I want you to truly know, please set up a safety avenue if you are thinking of getting away. Please make sure that you are safe, not just on a mental level, but on a physical safety level, because they will come. Order of protection is just a piece of paper. They don't care. The rules don't apply to them. And you should know that, just living on eggshells throughout your life with this individual. You have to make sure that you are safe. And I know you love them, and I know you think that they wouldn't hurt you, but I thought the same thing too. And so did my aunt, and so did my friend. And they're not here to share their story, but I am. And I will scream it to the rooftops that anyone who is in this life, you deserve so much better. You are so incredibly loved. And the only reason you feel that you need to stay with this person is because they manipulated you. And being in the trauma bond, it is a addiction. You are chemically imbalanced from them doing the fight and flight, from them doing the love bombing and then the abuse. Your brain is chemically imbalanced, and you need to see a psychiatrist to rebalance that. You will have to go on medication. I had to be put on antidepressants. I actually had to be put on Adderall to make me super like high, and then make me and then bring me down, like to crash me basically in that trauma bond. I had to be mechanically brought out of the trauma bond to get out of it. And I will say, you will lose everything because you gave this person everything. But freedom will cost you everything that isn't real. And living in a life with someone of a narcissist, your life is not real. It is faked, and it is put on the persona of them, what benefits them. And you deserve better. And if you are watching this, listening to me, however you are listening to me today, if it's on Spotify, it'll be on a listening thing. You won't be able to see me. But I want you to know that starting fresh, going to rock bottom, losing it all is not the prize. The prize is keeping your soul. And this person will take every single thing from you, because they want your soul. That's what makes them survive. And that's why I feel that it is some sort of dark entity that these people are, because nothing will be good enough until they take your soul. And whether they are going to take it, some individuals who are trying to escape, the victims end up taking their own soul because they just can't deal with the abuse anymore. But the prize is your soul. As long as you have yourself and your children, you won. And God will provide tenfold. I promise you that. He will bring you back on your feet. But you have to prove that you are surrendering to love and you're no longer bowing to the evilness that is trying to take your soul. I trust you that you could do this, and I have faith in you. And I want you to know that you are so incredibly loved, and you have so many survivors out here that have done it. And if we could do it, you could do it too. I'm here for anyone that wants to ask me questions, for anyone that, needs advice. Everyone is different. Every narcissistic, interaction is different. So I can't save you. I can't be the person you truly have to save yourself, but I can give you advice. I could give you things that worked for me. Again, your situation, you are the only one that knows it best. And I truly hope that you choose yourself and lose it all. Let it all burn to the ground. Lose it all, but don't lose yourself. You're worth so much more. Sending everyone so much love, and talk soon.